Welcome to a new edition of Harness Central. I'm Harold Howe, and we're here with Kelvin Harrison at Golden Horseshoe Training Center, formerly Victory Lane, to talk about In the Arsenal. Now, before we get on to him, Kelvin, we were just chatting and reminiscing before we went on air, and 23 years ago, you raced direct flight in the North America Cup, sort of. I mean, it was a very memorable night. He was ready to go behind the gate. He comes up broken bone lame.
Right.
Just reminisce about what happened.
Well, it was in Greenwood then, and he won the elimination, and he looked like the horse to beat in the final. And that night he warmed up probably as good as a horse could warm up. He was really, really good, nice and relaxed. And in the paddock, he thrashed out and he kicked the wall. And
which you only worked out later on, really.
Yeah, we didn't really work it out at the time, but when we went on the track, he was broken bone lame and he couldn't hit a pace. So John Campbell tried to thaw him out to get him to go, but there was no shot he could go. So John said, let me take him to the gate and see if I said, no, take him off, he's done.
And he'd been the prohibitive favorite.
Yeah, he was going to be a big favorite.
I can vividly remember you in the paddock. I mean, talk about shock.
Yeah, I was like in big shock. And like even the next day, we couldn't block him sound. We couldn't block him. Dr. Dye was there from Jersey, and we tried to block him sound and couldn't block him sound. By the time we got him back to Jersey on the Tuesday, he was sound as a bullet. So we just had to surmise that he pinched a nerve. Or
this is what drives weaker men to alcohol.
Well, that'll do it. It'll do it every time.
Now, you haven't paid a horse into the North America Cup since.
No.
But you've got one in the arsenal, and everybody knows what he did last year as a 2-year-old. $7,500 buyback by White Birch, and then they pieced him out to some people here later in the year, and here we are, a new season. He's got 2 nice wins under his belt, but he doesn't make it look easy when he wins.
No, well, Brian does a good job. Brian hasn't overexerted him to this stage, and he's actually 3 for 3, but he's coming into this race, I think, as good as he could possibly come in.
By that I mean some people have watched him and said, geez, he looks like he's very beatable.
Right.
But maybe he's one of those ones that when the bar gets raised every time, he comes a little more?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is, Harold, he's a lot smarter this year than he was last year. Like, last year, if you started him up, you really weren't going to shut him down. He was ready to roll. This year, he's grown, he's developed, and he's a lot smarter. He's a lot smarter horse than he was last year, and he knows how to race now.
Just coming back to direct flight, he was a little blockier horse, as I recall, but about the same size. And people in the game are notorious for commenting about horses if they're not, big, robust, tall sort of guys. But you've had some smaller horses, and this guy falls into that category. He's not a dwarf, but, is it just horseman mentality?
Well, like the best 2-year-olds I've had have all been small. And I've had some really nice 2-year-olds, but, as far as size, I mean, direct flight, and this horse was absolutely wild speed. So, I don't really think that it matters that much.
You've had a good look for a month here now of the 3-year-olds and the returning ones and so forth, and I guess any thoughts on the field?
Well, there's a bunch of good horses in there. They're obviously all very good horses to be in this event, but I like our chances. I wouldn't swap our chances with anybody else's.
You've got one nice one under your belt in the Rooney, and you arrived here the other day with this fellow at the training center and on his toes.
He's very, very sharp, very sharp.
The North America Cup has proven to be, over the years, a very difficult race to win. There's been a lot of top horses fail. And, I mean, you've been in enough big races to know that a lot of things have got to go right.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of things can go wrong.
Absolutely.
But at this stage, you feel it's his to lose?
Well, I feel that, like you obviously need some racing luck, but even when you got a great horse, there's only one thing that can go right, that's win. There's 200 things that can go wrong. So obviously you need a little bit of racing luck. It's not that you're ever going to lay over fields like these fields. I mean, these are all good horses, so obviously you need some racing luck, and you need things to work out for you.
Yes. Well, we wish you luck here on Saturday night in the Limb, and greater luck a week later in the final.
Thank you very much, Harold.
Harold Howe with Kelvin Harrison, giving you the Harness Racing Edge.